I'm Lauren from Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Aer Tech Brief, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. If this bag looks familiar to you, this is probably because it's an updated or an upgraded version of their commuter brief. So it has a lot of the same styles, a lot of the same organization, which we'll get into as we sort of start to explore the bag. But one of the best things I think about this is how well it stands up on its own. You can see it has a nice little platform base here. And what I really liked about this was that it was really easy to load this up with all of my gear. And if you're using this as like your everyday tech bag or something like that, that's gonna give you a lot better access to everything that's inside. So it's not flopping all over the place. You're not trying to get it to not like tip over when your laptop's in there or something like that. So I did really like that. But in terms of like outside features going on here, it's pretty simple. So on the front here, we have an 840D nylon face, and this is like a weather resistant coating. So you can see it's like shiny compared to the rest of the bag, which is their typical 1680D Cordura ballistic nylon. So there's a recycled nylon interior as well, but it's really only like this front face here that's like a little bit of that shiny look. So it's more of like an aesthetic thing. We also have YKK zippers all around the bag, which is pretty standard for Aer. These nice zipper pulls, which are like nice and easy to grip. And then we have one pocket. This is like the main compartment pocket, and that has reverse coil AquaGuard YKK zippers. And then the front pocket is just reverse coil. So no AquaGuard on here, but it does feel like pretty weather resistant. So overall, pretty simple, not a ton going on. We do have like a luggage pass through on the back here and a couple of other pockets, which we'll get into in a little bit. But in general, pretty sleek aesthetic on the outside here. Got these two top carry handles, which you can see stand up very well on their own, even when they are unhooked. They just kind of hang out, which is nice. They have that structure. They're not particularly padded, like they are pretty stiff and pretty hard. I also noticed with like this stitching on the inside, it kind of scraped against my hands sometimes. Wasn't like a huge deal, but it scraped a little bit here, down here as well, when I was like unzipping the zipper. So I would say like the perk of them being so structured is that they're not going to fall into the way, in your way. The disadvantage is that they're a little bit on the stiffer side, not overly comfortable, but not uncomfortable either. When it comes to the harness system, it's pretty simple as well. We have the shoulder strap is attached on the back here to these Duraflex buckles. We have these little hooks, so you can easily, it's easier to do when you're not trying to do it with both hands. But you can easily remove that, and then you're just left over with this shoulder strap, which I'll bring up closer to the camera here, has a lot of padding on it. So I actually found this to be really comfortable. We have a Hypalon Aer tag there. And then this moves along the strap as well. So you can adjust where it falls on your body. The disadvantage for me personally is that with the way that it fits on me, I needed to have these buckles. You have like a buckle adjustment on either side, so you can customize like which side it fits, you know, like longer or shorter on, and then you adjust this on your body depending on, like, you know, so it falls over your shoulder. Disadvantage for me is that these buckles needed to be on the shorter side, and you can't get, let me show here, you can't get that buckle through the luggage pass-through. So that prevents it from slipping too far out of reach, but that means also that if you wanted to get this as short as humanly possible, there is a limit to how short that can go. For me, you'll see it on my body. It's not that big of a deal, but something worth noting if you do have a shorter torso or you like to wear it up a little bit higher. And then the other way you carry this is just by these top carry handles, which I just mentioned. Again, padding is not super substantial, but I didn't really carry it only this way, so I didn't notice a huge issue with that. Over time though, if you do carry it this way, it does get a little bit uncomfy. So this is the brief when it's on my body. The adjustment that I have is pretty solid for me. Any higher doesn't really feel comfortable. Any lower is just kind of awkward. So I like to keep this just sort of like centered on my back because that's the way that it's most comfortable for me. But you can also keep this on your side if that's something that you like as well. So it kind of depends on how you like to carry it. You can adjust based off of that, and then the shoulder strap will move up and down depending on, you know, where you have it placed on your body. So pretty comfortable overall. I also like that the straps are attached on the back here, so that instead, like some briefcases, they'll do like one in the front and then one in the back, and you've got this weird like angled carry. In this case, because both of the attachment points are on the back panel here, this is resting like nice and snug against my body. And then if I just want to carry it over one shoulder, it's not awkward either. So a lot of the times I would just grab this, throw it over one shoulder and be good to go. Never felt like it slipped off or anything like that. Or you can just carry it down by your side by those top carry handles. There are a couple different pockets where you can store all of your gear in this thing as well. So I'm going to start actually on this back panel. We have two different options. So the first off is this, kind of like a hidden, I guess it's not really that hidden, but it's like a hidden zippered pocket. And this is a great spot for if you're traveling and using this as like your personal item or something like that. This is a good spot for a passport. This is a passport size notebook. You can also stick like your wallet in here or something like that if you're really concerned, but I would definitely stick to flatter items just on this back panel in general, because this is what's going to be resting up against your body. Like I mentioned with the carry handles or the attachment straps, the points being right here, you know, this is essentially the back panel as if it's like a backpack or something like that. You also have this little sleeve which goes down to the base of the bag, and this is a good like document sleeve or something like that. I wouldn't put a device in here unless you're doing like maybe a Kindle or a tablet if you really wanted to, but that's definitely like something where it's nice if you wanted to have, if you had like, I don't know, if you travel for business and you need to bring a lot of documents and want to keep those in there, that's a really great spot for that. You can see when this bag is packed out, it starts to curve a little bit, so I wouldn't put anything like overly sensitive in there, but it does great in a pinch, and then if you don't use it, it just stays out of the way, so not a huge deal. There is no closure or anything, so you know, water theoretically could get in there. Something to keep in mind. I never really found an issue with it though. And then the only other pocket we have is on the front. So this whole front side opens up, it unzips. It's like right at the very, very front of this bag, unlike the main compartment, which you can see is at an angle, which we'll get into in a second. But we have these little gussets at the top, which give you a little bit of added dimension. And this just sort of like folds straight forward, and then you can see everything that's in this compartment. So if we're just going to take a look at what's inside here right now, I have my phone and a little, like, this is like a stretchy, all of these are like stretchy mesh pockets. So I have a pen in here. I have corded headphones, throwing it back, got those right there. And then I have wallet in this front compartment. And then in the zippered pocket is where there is a key leash with a really easy like G-hook attachment, carabiner attachment. So this here, this is like a self-locking zipper. So when it's like here, let me do this. When it's like this, it's not going to open on its own. So that's nice. And then that little carabiner just kind of sticks in there. As you can see, I have a chunkier set of keys, so that was a little bit awkward in there for me. You could theoretically just like leave this out and leave them dangling. But I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, if you want a key leash, you want to keep control of like maybe just a couple of keys, and then they fit perfectly fine in that pocket there. So if you have a lot of items that you like to keep organized in pocket space, this is great. There's also this, which is like another either like device sleeve or like if you want to put like an iPad or something like that in here. This does have a little bit of padding as well, so that's like a nice protected spot. But otherwise these are really roomy pockets. And then you can see there's like a little bit of added dimension and added space in this pocket, so it comes out a little bit, and that's what those gussets are that I was talking about earlier. And I feel like, theoretically speaking, you should be able to fit more items in here than it actually ends up being, because once all of this is loaded up with stuff and then you go to add in like, I don't know, an extra layer or something like that, if it's anything remotely chunky, it really starts to like poke out of the front, and then that looks a little bit lumpy. So I found it best like if you wanted to just have like a hat and gloves or something smaller fits in here as like an added layer just for extra storage. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. And now going into the main compartment. So if we just zip this back up, that hangs out. It's like its own independent storage. And then you go unbuckle that, open up the main compartment. So I've used this a couple of different times as like an overnight bag. So you can see I have like some PJs in there. So I'm going to take those out. And then here I have an overnight toiletry bag and then my water bottle. So you can see that that filled up pretty much all the space in there. Here for like additional features, we have an Aer Tech slip pocket, which is great. And then we have the laptop compartment. You can see because my laptop is in there, it's a little bit on the heavier side. So this fits up to a 16-inch, and this is a 16-liter bag as well. But if I take my laptop out, it's still pretty structured. So even when I'm loading all my stuff in here, I have a decent amount of space and structure to load all my gear in, and then I just try and put my laptop in last. We have a good amount of like foam padding here, another little slip pocket for a tablet device, extra documents, something like that. And then on the back is like a felt material for like scratch protection and that sort of thing. All the stitching is still in really great shape. We've got some like Bartek stitching here and some, feels like it's like reinforced a little bit, which is good. I think that this bag just has a lot of reinforcement. Another one of those that you see is with this zippered pocket here. This is like a frame sheet that you would often see like on the back of a bag or a backpack or something like that. But in this case, it's on the front. And I think what that ends up doing is adding some structure so that all of your gear in this main compartment doesn't cut more into the front compartment and vice versa. So it adds a little bit of separation without making like this panel completely solid all the way through, because then it can also bend a little bit. So when I pack this thing out a ton, sometimes I really had to like squeeze it shut and then zip around it. But because of the dual zippers, oh, little noise there. Because of the dual zippers, I could unzip it from either side, or because it's like this angled kind of design, it starts at, like, it starts here and it sort of locks things in as I'm zipping. So you can see, like, if I had the zipper just here, I would be forcing this entire back panel to meet it at the front where it wouldn't necessarily happen. But in this case, I can load a few, bigger items down here, and it sort of creates like a natural bucket, and then it zips forward where the bag is a little bit more structured. It kind of ends up being like centered. So it works out pretty well. In general, it's a nice sleek design. I think if you're somebody who carries like just a laptop bag and you have just a few items that you need to carry every single day and it's pretty consistent through day-to-day use, this is a really great option because it has just enough space for the tech items that you need without being overkill. And then like you saw, I was able to use it for like an overnight thing. Obviously like the pajamas are in there now, but what I'm currently wearing was in there before. So it just sort of works when you just swap things out like that. So pretty great. The main qualm I guess I have with it is these top carry handles. While they are nice and beefy, they did get a little bit in the way when I was unzipping this front pocket. And so, you have to keep them buckled all the time, but then when they're buckled, it does block the main compartment access. So really, really small nitpicky thing. I think overall the bag does a really good job kind of executing what it needs in terms of storage and just day-to-day use with all of your tech gear. So there you have it, the Aer Tech Brief. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.